Welcome back, my warriors of conscience. Hope you guys are all doing amazing today. I just got a haircut earlier, and the first thing I'm doing is making this video for y'all. So, I hope you enjoy. And without any further ado, let's get into the video. So, today we're gonna be excavating a truth that is so fundamental, yet so overlooked that it's hiding in plain sight within every moment of your existence. What I'm talking about here is micro decisions, the invisible and formless architects which shape your very reality. Every single day, you make thousands of choices that seem insignificant on the surface. A moment to hit snooze, a second to pick up your phone instead of a book, a split-second choice between the path of resistance and the path of comfort. And in each of these microscopic moments, your entire future is forged. And I don't just mean your external reality, your bank account, physique, relationships, not that. Something far more precious and permanent. Your spiritual architecture, the very frequency that your soul is emitting into the universe. So let me take you into the forge where this alchemy is happening, right? Imagine your conscience as an ancient temple. You've heard the saying that your body is a temple. Now consider that it's your mind, a sacred structure built not over years, but over moments. Each decision you make is another stone placed in its foundation. Some stones strengthen the temple, others create hairline fractures that over time can bring the entire structure down. The problem, most people are completely blind to this process. They're sleepwalking through the very moments that determine the strength of their temple. Now, I'll give you guys an example that hit me like a spiritual sledgehammer recently. Essentially it was the end of a brutal week, right? The kind where your muscles ache from all the training you've been doing, your mind has been stretched from all the work, and essentially your energy reserves are honestly running on fumes. I had promised myself that I'd hit the gym still because essentially I'd missed a few days in the week due to already having late nights at work, and I didn't want any excuses. But as I walked through the door that evening, one of my homies basically hit me up, right? He wanted to connect, he wanted to game for a bit, just decompress. And I felt it. That little voice. The negotiator. The compromise artist within. Just this once, it whispered. You've earned a break. And then without even thinking, I caught myself saying out loud, guess I'll be a lazy bum tonight. I laughed when I said it, and eventually even decided to go to the gym anyways. But later that night, as I was riding home on my motorcycle, those words echoed back to me like a prophecy. Suddenly, I realized the gravity of what I had subconsciously said. Because in that moment, I wasn't just, allowing myself to skip a workout. I was authorizing a downgrade of my entire being. I was installing the identity of a man who compromises, a man who breaks promises to himself, a man who chooses comfort over conquest. And it was only because I had chosen the path of action that the momentum, not only for the rest of the night, but perhaps even for the rest of the week, had shifted to one where I would rather take action than stay comfortable. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is precisely the reason why this hidden mechanism subtly determines whether you ascend or descend in this life. You see, life doesn't move in straight lines. It moves in spirals. Every decision, no matter how small, moves you either one turn up the spiral towards your highest self, or one turn towards dissolution. Upward spirals generally generate momentum, They create synchronicities, they align you with the universal flow, etc. While downward spirals, they do work the same way, but in reverse. They create resistance, they birth obstacles, and they drain your life force. So, for example, think of the people that you admire the most, the ones who seem to have that inexplicable magnetism, that unwavering certainty, that unshakable presence. They're not genetic anomalies, they're not the chosen ones, they're not divinely ordained. They've simply mastered the art of consistent upward micro decisions. Day after day, moment after moment, choice after invisible choice. While most men are leaking their power, these guys don't even register these negative decisions and instead keep programming themselves so that they take the upward trajectories, right? So I want you to really absorb this next part because it's the key that unlocks everything. Your subconscious mind, of course. You are on this channel, so I will have to bring up the subconscious mind. That ancient, powerful operating system that's within your head. It doesn't understand humor. It doesn't get sarcasm. It doesn't comprehend just this once. It only understands its very basic programming. When you say, I'll be lazy today, your subconscious doesn't hear a joke. It hears a command, I am lazy. When you think, I'll skip this workout, your spirit doesn't hear a schedule change. It hears, I am someone who breaks promises to myself. These commands aren't written in sand. They're etched in stone. They become the very architecture of your identity. And your identity, as we all know, is your destiny. Now, I want to get a little bit practical. So how do you harness this hidden mechanism to ascend rather than descend, right? So, first, develop micro-awareness. Start catching yourself in those seemingly insignificant moments of choice. That instant when your alarm goes off and you reach for the snooze. That split second when you decide between water or soda. That moment when you choose between taking the stairs or the elevator. In each of these microscopic decision points lies the seed of your ascension or descension. Second, install powerful identity statements. Your words are spells cast upon your subconscious. Start speaking your higher identity into existence. Instead of, I should work out, say, I train because I respect the vessel I've been given. Instead of, I need to meditate, say, I sit with the stillness because that's where I hear what really matters. Instead of, I shouldn't eat that, say, I feel my body like a man with purpose. These subtle shifts in language quietly reprogram your subconscious, shaping you into the man you're meant to become, instead of the one comfort will quietly erode you into. Third, create decision triggers. Most men fail because they're making decisions from a place of depletion. When you're tired, stressed, or depleted, your decision quality plummets. This is why you need decision triggers, pre-committed pathways of action that bypass your compromised state. For example, the moment your alarm goes off, you put your feet on the floor. No negotiation, no internal debate, feet on the floor. Another example, when you feel the urge to check social media, you take 5 deep breaths first. Every time, without exception, you prioritize your breath before the distraction. Finally, you can also do something like drinking 16 ounces of water before meals. Not sometimes, not when you remember, every single time. These aren't just hacks, they're genuine ritualistic commands. And what they do is they carve grooves in your neural pathways, patterns that your subconscious begins to follow without any resistance. But here's the part that most people will fail to mention. The grooves will form either way, whether you consciously install them or unconsciously allow them. Your mind is always recording, and every decision becomes a signal. Every repetition becomes a script. And so it's important to ensure the grooves that are forming are of your choosing. Fourth, leverage the contrast. When you do slip, and you will, because you are human, don't spiral in shame. Use it as fuel. Feel the contrast between, your highest self and the compromised version of yourself. Let that gap generate the energy for your next ascension. The masters, they don't avoid falling. They just refuse to stay down. Again, what I would recommend here is for all of you to study David Hawkins' Scale of Conscience, as it'll help a lot in understanding this at a deeper level. Point number 5, and perhaps the most important, surrender to flow. There comes a point in this practice where you'll hit a threshold, where the upward spiral generates its own momentum. That is what some people call being in the zone, what athletes might call the flow state, and what mystics call divine alignment. When you reach this state, don't try to control it with your ego. Don't overthink it, self-sabotage. Don't interrupt the very magic that you've been cultivating. Instead, surrender to it. Let it carry you. Become the vessel for the energy you've earned through your consistent micro-alignment. Ladies and gentlemen, understand this. You are not just building a body, you are not just developing habits, you're not creating a life. You're constructing the very vessel through which your spirit will manifest itself in this realm. Every micro decision is either fortifying that vessel or creating fractures in its foundation. And the beautiful truth is this: the smallest shifts create the most profound transformations. And you don't need some dramatic life overhaul. You don't need to move mountains. You don't even need some radical reinvention. You simply need to become conscious of the microscopic moments where your destiny is truly forged. So I ask you, what temple are you building with your decisions today? What energy are you installing with each choice that you make? What version of yourself are you becoming in the moments no one sees? Choose wisely, decide consciously, build deliberately. Because your micro decisions today are creating the identity you'll be forced to live with tomorrow. If this message resonated with you, crush that like button, drop a comment telling me one micro decision you're committed to mastering, and until next time, stay sovereign, stay conscious, and remember, build your current, transmit your frequency. Thank you.